This is the Twins with the Grand Old Time Cast, and I'm sitting here with, obviously, my twin, Chad, and we are going to do an interview with him about his life, upbringing, and Army experiences. So it's going to be the first part's going to be a little odd for me because we already know our upbringings, but we'll start it off. So, Chad, just begin. How did you become you know?
Well, I was born and raised here in Owasso, Oklahoma. Technically, I was born in Tulsa, but born and raised in Owasso, Oklahoma. I just grew up out here, been kind of semi between country and urban or suburban kid my whole life. So we lived in the suburbs when I was a lot younger, and then we moved out kind of more closer to the country and the lake when we got to about our more teenage years, I would say. But we've always been more country kids, but grew up out here running around. Come from a military family. I said both my grandfathers were in the military. My mom's dad was in the Army, and he was an officer. And then my dad's dad was in the Navy, and he got an offer to go to Annapolis, but chose to get out to get out of the Navy and come back home after that. But that's really about it. I've been played mainly basketball and football in my younger years. Up through high school, played high school football. Just basically played like YMCA, what's it called?
It's FOR, Future Owasso Rams.
That's right. Basketball. Yeah. And like I said, high school. Went to high school, played football, and then graduated, wanted to join the Army. Our dad somehow convinced us not to, and we told us to go to college. And I went to college at the University of Tulsa here in Oklahoma. Great school to do film, and we did, or said both of us did film while we were at TU. Loved it. I still love it to the day. It's kind of why we started what we're doing now. Mm-hmm. I did that for 4 years. Also joined the cheer squad while I was there because I just got sick of watching sporting events from the sidelines. I'm the type of person I can't just sit there and watch a game. I have to actually be participating or doing something.
Sure, a likely excuse. You swallowed your pride and became a cheerleader.
That's right. I just wanted to hang out with the pretty girls. That's what I wanted to do.
No, that's right though. We definitely got a little bored sitting on the sidelines watching sports. It just feels weird after you've played sports or you've been a part of something. You're just like, I don't like being a fan. I'd rather be a participant.
I can't just sit there and drink beer and eat food and just watch something. It drives me crazy after a while. I've got to do something.
Yeah, I think you and I have always kind of been that way. Like, we don't like going to games. We actually like what we'd prefer. If we're going to watch a game, it better be on TV, somewhere we can't go and can't be a part of. So it's weird. It's weird being a sideline sitter instead of a active participant. It just 100%. Feels wrong.
100%. But after we graduated college, not a lot of film opportunities in the Oklahoma area besides like news, which I hate. I hated news companies with a passion because they're so vulture-y. They just are very, vulture. Even like when we were at TU, when one of the scandals broke out with one of the new deans coming in and getting removed immediately. Mm-hmm. Like they just came in like, you want to comment on it? I was like, nope, I don't know anything about it. Yeah. It's not my job to tell you about it or what I thought about it.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot. Old Orsak got fired for public urination. He peed somewhere in public.
That's right.
To a bar.
It was ridiculous. And it's like, would you like to comment on it? It's like, I don't know enough about it to comment on it, which I think that's why I really hate modern day media. Is like they just find somebody to talk about it, even though they know nothing about it.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Like just like I don't know, but that sounds like it's a silly thing to me. They get they always interview the buck-tooth Bubba. Who doesn't know what's going on.
That's the point. Like, I've never heard of this, but it sounds wrong. So it's silly, but that was really all there was to do around here. There were a few like production companies I remember that you applied to and stuff like that, but they weren't really hiring anybody. They were just like looking for interns and free labor, which is just like once you've graduated college, you're not about I can't do stuff for free anymore.
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm already in enough debt. I don't need to be doing stuff for free. But after that, so we worked for our father for Allstate and worked there for the longest time, all state or A grade rate,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm still working there to this day. And after about 4 or 5 years of that, I said it's good money. I said I'm not saying it's bad. It's a great job. You said you are helping people to degrees, but it's office with life and sales is just kind of soul, especially if you're just working at a desk all day. It's kind of soul crushing after a while, and you just like I got to do something different. And when my best friend at the time, who was in the 82nd, which we've already had him on the show before, calling you from overseas, and you're talking to him while he's overseas and deployed, just like, man, you're doing something. Even he's like, it's not fun. It's not always fun, man.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just nothing but pain and suffering, and you hate your life. But at least you're doing something. And it's just like that just sounded more fun. And so we already wanted to join the military from back in high school, so just like we might as well while we're still young-ish at this point, because we were in our 30s at this point, and we dipped into the Air Force for a bit, and that's when COVID hit, and we kind of lost our.
We ran out of eligibility.
Ran out of eligibility. You have to go get your medical stuff again.
You get what you call DEPT in. You go and do your medical testing. They medically screen you, make sure you're physically capable, and you have to do the ASVAB or whatever.
Yeah.
And after a year or two, you run out of eligibility, and you have to go back. And we had to go back, and MEP sucks.
Yeah. It's not all bad, but it's just a long drive to OKC, and then it's a long day of sitting in lines and getting your blood drawn, doing urine samples, all that fun stuff. But after that, said COVID hit and they canceled. I mean, at that point, like I said, the Air Force had even canceled basic training at some point. So we're just like, well, if they're canceling basic training and stuff, what's the point of even going? So we kind of like still were working out and doing stuff, and we're like, all right, we got to get back in. And then we were just looked into. Said somebody, I don't remember who it was like, we just look into the Army National Guards. That way we can still work at the office, be near our home, and still be a contributing member of society, because that's what all my active duty people that I knew just like man, if you're wanting to work on like your dream job or whatever, the Army's kind of more of a hindrance. Being active anyway is more of a hindrance, because you can work on your stuff once you've been dismissed for the day, but you're there at base and you're doing PT, especially if you're doing like infantry or any type of special operations stuff. You're there all day working out, doing drills, whatever, and it's not going to be conducive to you trying to start a business or anything like that. So that's kind of why I think we eventually chose to do National Guard over anything else. So that way we had more time to be here and working and doing, working on our goals and career, but also still being able to serve and be a part of the greatest American fighting force that's ever existed.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. I guess the only thing I'd say that you missed, and I'll talk about it more in mine, but you forgot about when we took some time out of our work life to make a movie, but we'll go back to that at a later time. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
So you've made it, Pat. You've given us the why. So you go to basic training. You've been to MEPS. How was shipping off to basic training? What is that? What is that like for you?
Kind of going back a little bit further, we signed up around May. We signed up around in May or July.
Yeah, I think we officially, because we went in May, and then we didn't like the contract we were given, and then we went back, and then they renegotiated and gave us officer contracts for 09 Sierras, because we were originally going infantry. But
that's right. And they had changed the timeline on the infantry advanced AIT, advanced infantry training, or advanced individual training. And
it was like 28 weeks.
22. It was like 22 weeks.
Yeah. It was something ridiculous.
It's not boot. From basic training to that, because as an infantry, you go to Fort
basic
Benning
training
or
is all,
Fort Moore now. Fort Moore, and it's basic training and your advanced individual training or advanced infantry training are all one thing. They're all combined into one.
Yep.
And even my buddy, who was doing infantry and all that, was like, it was only 18 weeks when I was there. 22 weeks, that's a long time, man. I was like, yeah, that's weird. But so we kind of looked back at it, and we decided that going officer was the best. Even if we had gone, that's what's funny now, is even if we had gone infantry, back then, just gone the enlisted route. As soon as we got back to Oklahoma, we would have been immediately thrown into OCS regardless.
Yeah,
Because that's what happened to like 3 of my buddies that were at
absolutely.
pre-OCS with me. They're like, yeah, I was assigned to this unit, and I just got a call and said, you're supposed to report to OKC as soon as he got back from his AIT. And I just started laughing. I was like, well, so even if I had gone, the enlisted route, I would have been kicked over to OCS regardless.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like anybody with a college degree, like the officer candidate program is just of Oklahoma. The state program is just grabbing everyone with a college degree, even if you're enlisted. Now you can say I don't want to go, I don't want to be here, but like the program is still taking anyone with a degree and making them come to at least one pre-OCS drill, and then you can sit there and fight with the cadre and the higher ups, being like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I want to go back to my unit, and they will, but you got to plead your case, and you got to tell them why you don't want to be an officer.
Exactly. But that was that. I said I went to, like I said, as we were talking with Dukin, went to only one little of the little pre-RSP stuff, and then I was off to basic training in September. I think I left September 20th.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I left September 20th, and that was a long day for that because it's flew out. I just basically waited at the airport. You have to wait at the airports for forever because you're gonna fly in like even I left like I think around like 10 a.m. My first flight was at 10 a.m. and I waited there for our flight for forever. Then we finally left, and then there was another like long layover to get to Columbia to get to where we landed at. Basically, it wasn't we didn't land at Fort Jackson, but we landed at the airport in South Carolina, a very small airport. And you get off and
Columbia.
Columbia, and you wait for the buses. And that's the first time I remember. As soon as I got off that flight, it was like around 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. At that point, get off the flight, everybody's lining up, and everyone's just telling you start lining up for the flight. And then this airport is shut down at this point. There ain't nobody there. And I said it's just basically trainees and people going to Fort Jackson, and we're all just lining up at the airport. And here in comes the first round hat or drill sergeant that you ever see there to pick you up. And everyone immediately you can just feel the atmosphere in the room, just
the tension changes in
exactly
the room.
the atmosphere as soon as a drill sergeant walks in, just everything changes in the room. They start lining you up, telling you to be quiet, tuck your shirt in, make sure you got all your stuff in your bag, start turning off your cell phones. And I just remember because as soon as I got off that flight, that was the last thing I just remember texting either you or mom and dad, and I was like, it might have been a group message too. I go, just landed, this is probably the last time I'll talk to you for a while, and then I was off, and then sitting there waiting for your bus. Then we had to wait for forever because there's only a certain number of buses. So the first group went, and then you're just sitting there waiting for the next group of buses to come and pick you up. Get on there. They're like, everyone stay completely quiet, no talking. They try to tell you not to go to sleep, but I can guarantee you there are people just nodding off and napping on there. Then you get to the reception, and then that's, as you said, reception, and you get there, and it's just, you get off the bus, drill sergeants move you through, make sure you don't have any contraband. You start getting your signing paperwork and stuff, and then you just get assigned to your barracks for that evening for your duration of being at reception. And it was a lot. For me, it was only 3 days. Thank God for that. It was like three and a half, maybe 4 days, and I was out of there.
Lucky
and I was
you.
Like, thank God, yeah.
Yeah, most of us had to stay a week.
I know. That's what I said. I was one lucky son of a gun. I was like, whew, dodged a bullet. But I think I think they said we were one of the smaller groups that had come through in a while.
You did. When you left there was hardly anybody with you from the Oklahoma National Guard base.
Yeah,
when I left, there was a crap ton of kids there.
Yeah, there were only, I think, 5 to 7 of us from that, and I was included in that, and I'm included in that number. So I think there was only like 5 of us. It was a small number from there, and yeah, we were definitely at the reception side. I'd say one of the smaller groups.
Did you ever see any of the kids from Oklahoma ever again?
I did. I saw one of them was actually. No, I don't think there was anybody from Oklahoma I said there were people from Oklahoma in my company, but there weren't anybody from the Oklahoma National Guard. Because I had a few people from Oklahoma in my company, but they weren't. I just remember they weren't National Guard. But no, I saw them occasionally. I'd see them sporadically. Like I said, when you just pass in another company,
Mhm.
and so I would see them occasionally, but I never really got to like hang out or associate with them. Besides, like at church, if I would catch them at church occasionally, because
Interesting.
I had a habit of going to like all the church services that I could go to,
Mhm.
just to get out of the barracks and the bay for a little bit. Yeah, so I would catch them sometimes, but yeah, it was very rare that I saw anybody from the Oklahoma National Guard unit that came. The five of us that all left together. So,
That's just so crazy because I left with a bunch of kids to Fort Jackson from
and
Oklahoma,
you
and,
actually
and
had
they
them in
were
there.
all
Yeah,
in. They were in my. Not only did they stay with me the entirety of basic training, they were in my platoon.
that's
Like it was
crazy.
wild. I don't get it.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, there were no other Oklahoma National Guardsmen that went with me to my company. I was all alone.
You're all alone. That's nice to know. Just the lone wolf.
Hmm.
Live alone, die alone.
So that's what it felt like when. That's what it feels like when you're losing all the people around you as you're coming in.
Yeah.
But you
Well.
make. I had a habit of making friends pretty easily and pretty
Yeah.
quick.
We've
So.
always had that issue, so we're always quick to mold in with
Oh
groups of
yeah.
folks. But so you get to reception, you've gone through all that, and you get to ship to your base training. So you meet probably your best buddy throughout the entirety of drill while you're
Yes,
there. So
we
you
got
actually lucked
assigned.
out.
We got assigned to be bunkmates. His name's O'Neill, or I called him Bro Neil because he was my bro. But yeah, he was one of the older guys. I think he was 21, 22. So me being like 32 at that time, I was one of the older guys there. But 20-year-olds, even though I kind of see them about the same as a 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-olds have this habit of being like these 18 to 20, these 18, 19-year-old kids. They don't know the world. But I mean, they definitely have. There's definitely a little bit more of a maturity factor between a 21, 22-year-old to a 18-year-old. That's 100% sure. But
I've seen things, kid.
yeah,
Seen things you can't possibly
so I've
imagine.
got I've got my license. I've got my license. I can drink now.
Yeah, I turned 21. I've got the liquor endorsement on there now. I can
Hmm.
drink.
Hmm. So for some reason that makes you more grown up. But but anyway. But yeah, I met him, and we were bunkmates during reception. We weren't bunkmates after we got to our company because we were in the same platoon in the same bay. But yeah, we were bunkmates, and we were definitely the best buddies. But he was also what are they called? Whiskey. He was a medic. What are they?
68.
68
Yeah,
whiskey.
he's a
Yeah,
68
he
whiskey.
was a 68 whiskey. So anytime there was something like medically wrong, or I was just feeling pain or something, I'd go to him to talk to him about. I was like, "What do I need to do, doc?"
Right. He's there, bud. He's not a 68 whiskey
Whiskey, yeah,
yet. He hasn't got
exactly.
that he's not got that AIT under his belt.
Exactly. We said, but it was just a way for me to talk to him at the end of the day. But yeah, I said we'd go, and we got assigned to our unit, which was Bravo
439.
439, and got assigned to there, and we got lucky enough to be put in the same platoon because we're already in the same company. But we get there, and it's not as big as how Ivy and Dukin described the shark attacks, where it's a battalion level. It was just our company. I think there were a few other drill sergeants there that I never saw again, uh, that were there. So there were a few extra drill sergeants, but it was a bunch. It was pretty much just your company level drill sergeants there, and they're all, still same thing as what they said. Get off the bus. They're yelling at you. Grab your bags. Run over here. Hold your bag above your head. Run in place. Run. Go get your duffels. Line them up. Let's get you into your platoons are getting all divided up, and you do running all this stuff. Grab these ammo cans.
Yeah, so they have what they do when you get off the bus there. It's not the shark attack anymore, but it's like you go through the learning of all the phases and things you're going to do. So they call it something specifically now, but I can't remember
I can't
what.
remember what it was for the life of
But
me
you get
either.
off and they basically show you what your ACFTs are going to be like. They're gonna then they show you it's like this will be phase 1 stuff, and then they go this will be or red phase stuff, this will be blue phase stuff, this
Yep.
or the white phase stuff, and then they'll
literally
do a mock
Yep,
Omaha or Battle Buddy
correct.
shooting.
They show you everything that you're gonna do throughout the phase of your training in this brief little segment, but you're sprinting to all the locations that they're showing you, and you take a knee. They give you a quick demonstration of what they're gonna do. Oops, excuse me. And yeah, I mean it was not as even Ivy said, and it's not as intense as you think it is. Like you think it's going to be super intense, but it's not. I didn't think it was that hard. I was like, man, I work out harder than, than this. But there's just a stress level. It's the stress level of them trying to get in your head, and you're like, oh my god, what's happening next? It's really the fear factor that really gets
Yeah,
to you.
it's the culture shock. It's just being there in the zeitgeist of basic training, and that's what
Correct.
it is. Like, because you're sitting there getting yelled at, you're getting used to this. They're simulating combat stress and seeing how you react to it, and making sure
Hmm.
you're going to be able to function and take orders efficiently, and that's just what it is. That's the whole point. Like, that's the hardest part, is just getting used to the culture shock of it all.
Yep, I 100% agree with that. And that was really about it the first day. And I got the only thing that kind of sucked was I got assigned to be bay boss right off the bat because they're like, who's the oldest person in here? And I'm like, crap, I don't know if I'm the oldest, but I'm definitely one. I was like, it's like, how old? There's got to be somebody. So I go, I'm 32. Someone. And at that point, they said they'd already assigned it, but other people started raising their hands. There's a 30, I think there's a 38-year-old or a 37-year-old, and then there's a 35-year-old. So it was me and a 35-year-old who got assigned as bay boss because the 37 or 38-year-old didn't raise his hand in time. But when you're first asking for volunteers for stuff, you're just like, I don't know if I should volunteer for stuff. It seems like a bad idea when you first get there. But I was bay boss for a day. It lasted only like a day before I got dismissed immediately, real quick.
Nice.
But everybody still treated me like bay boss, even though there's
Even
so
though you
many
were
other bay
fired.
boss.
Yeah.
As I said, I became like the platoon dad at that point because everybody's like, we know you. You're reliable.
Mm-hmm.
You can get stuff done. You're not afraid to talk to the drills, which, as you said to them, like there is something about the younger kids being a little too afraid to go ask the drill sergeants for stuff on their own. Whereas, me, just like, I was older than, like I said, probably all the drills but one at this point, and I'm just like, I was like, drill sergeant, I got a question. And they still treat you like it. What?
Yeah, they still can treat you like you're a dummy.
Hmm.
Like,
But like I thought it was way more fun because like I completely expected it. I have so many friends that have been in, and relatives, uncles, grandparents. They said I knew exactly what to expect when I get there. So I was like, I fully expected, and I was just I was the guy that was grinning and smiling the whole time while I was at basic training. So,
yeah, it's hard not to because at some point you just realize this is ridiculous. The whole
hmm.
thing is ridiculous. Now they're trying to prep you for combat and combat stress, but you're just sitting there is like, I'm getting yelled at by
Yeah,
someone half my
but that's
age.
what you realize. It's not for you because at that point, like you're the type of guy who can handle all this stuff. They're not there to weed those guys, to help those guys. They're there to help the ones that like freeze and start shaking when stress is induced. Not the guys that are like, I'm prepped, I'm ready to go. So but that's the thing. There's a lot of people that aren't prepped and ready for it. It's that's the people they're looking for and the people that they're trying to help out and make better soldiers. So,
Definitely. So, moving on past, you've done all that initial get off the bus jargon that they make you do.
hmm.
How was, I guess, what was kind of your first memorable experience? Like I guess, kind of going through the gist of it, I guess Vic Tower would probably be so Victory Tower is where you rappel and you learn to trust your equipment.
Victory Tower was the first big one because that's the one where like it's the first time that you get to do something that's semi like really fun because up to this point it's like they're teaching you about your weapons and how to clean it, which if you're kind of a more country-esque boy, or a gun nut like me, you already know everything about the M4, about your M4. I knew how to strip it and clean it and all that stuff better than probably better than some of the drills at that point, which I'm sure some of them would take offense at that, but but
Drill Sergeant Ramirez definitely
he
would.
definitely would. But I it's just that stuff. It's classroom stuff. Here's the weapon. Here's how you use it. Here's how you clean it. This is your weapon is your life, all that fun stuff. Um but yeah, Victory Tower was the first big one. So it's like that's the only time that you feel like you're doing like soldier stuff is when you put on your pack and your weapon and you're marching around, and we go march down to Victory Tower. Victory Tower was super close to our company headquarters.
Just
So
down the hill, down what we
it was
affectionately called Heartbreak. What you and I affectionately call Heartbreak Hill.
yeah, Heartbreak Hill. Because like I said, if you had to run up it, it was terrible. You ran down it, you felt pretty good. But if you were running up it, you hated your life.
Mm-hmm. Especially with full ruck packs and stuff on.
So Victory Tower was a fun one. Like you get your brief, they brief you, and then the only thing that sucks is like it's like I said, it's at least you get to actually go down the tower, but it's a long wait. Over 100 candidates, or not candidates at this point, trainees or recruits, whatever they're calling them now, waiting your turn to get all geared up and go down, and you're watching the people who are freaking out coming down the tower, and finally it's my turn. And like I said, there was the I won't say her name. I said we had the mean drill sergeant on that everyone was like, you were terrified when this drill sergeant came around. She was super mean, but I was like, I got up to the tower and I'm waiting my turn. I'm one of the people in the queue waiting for them to call me. And I was like, not her, not her, not her, not her, not her the whole time. And then eventually, who turns around, looks right at me, you trainee, get over here. So I'm just like, crap, get over there, crawl out. You're supposed to just crawl out and turn around. And all of a sudden, she's talking to another drill at this time that's on her left, and I'm on her right, right up next to her. And all of a sudden, she just turns and looks at me. She goes, trainee, why the are you so close to me? And I was like, you know, I just at that time I was just laughing. I was just trying to play it off like, oh, and drill sergeant, I just feel safer the closer I am to you. She just looked at me, the most hateful look in her eye, and said, "Get the fudge off my tower." So I look up and I immediately go down. Like I said, you're supposed to do the whole, point and like wave. She didn't even wave me off. Like I said, just like I did my little like 2 cent. I did the whole thing. I wave to show that I got only one hand on the rope. She goes, go. She didn't even tell me to stick around to like check or anything. She's like, I was off that tower in like 3 little quick short jumps. I was off that tower real quick. And then that was the most fun. That was the funniest thing that probably happened right off the bat. Besides just talking with other trainees and stuff and cutting up, but that was a fun day. So the tower was a lot more fun, unless you're just like terrified of heights, which I partially am, but it was a lot more fun than I thought it would be. So.
Yeah, the initial climb up is where it preps you and you get scared. But yeah, Vic Tower is probably one of the most fun things you do early on in basic training.
Yeah,
so.
Basically at that point, if they had asked you to do it again, like I said, everybody was like, heck yeah, let's do it again.
Yeah, Vic Tower is a lot of fun. So moving on, you move past Vic Tower. Vic Tower is kind of like basically the end of Red Phase, like that you kind of.
It was for us. As soon as we got back from Victory Tower, we got the smoke show of our lives because we were moving into White Phase after that. So it was. They smoked the crap out of us after that, and it was a lot of fun. Like I said, it was. A lot of people were very upset by it, but I thought it was a lot of fun.
What kind of things did they have you do during your smoke session?
Oh boy, it was run down. So we had one of those safety gates, that lower and raise, and it was red and white. So they call it the candy cane. They go touch the candy cane, go touch the dumpster, which is dumpster to the candy cane were probably about a quarter of a mile.
Quarter mile, maybe a little less.
Maybe a little less. It was just about that. That's what it felt like to me, just running all the time. It felt like a quarter of a mile. So probably about just shy of a half mile down and back. Do that. Push ups, smoke again, and go touch. You do some jumping jacks, push ups, whatever, and then tell you to run right back to the dumpster and back. And it was just long. And once we were done, we were all super excited, because we're moving on to the next phase. Like, yes, one more step. Everybody got super excited. I was just watching all these kids. Like, for me, it was more of like step yourself out and like watch these kids get super excited to move on to the next thing. So I kind of like took a step back from it because I was older and I'm just like, I get what's going on here.
Absolutely. So moving on to the next phase, like what kind of other stories? I mean, were there any hard times for folks or for you?
Yeah, said nothing that really happened during the white phase, which white phase is the whole like shooting phase where we're learning how to zero in our weapons.
Yeah, basic riflemanship, basic marksman stuff.
Exactly. So everyone's just basically doing that. So it's pretty chill because, like I said, they want you to learn that. Like, you can still get smoked for getting in trouble or not paying attention in the classes or on the range. Like I said, if you're off the range and they just see you just like getting a little too crazy, they'll smoke you. But nothing too crazy for them. Like none of my other real like funny stories start happening until probably end of like getting into like blue phase area. So one of the funnier ones that I have from that was this one wasn't funny. This one was kind of like more serious. But there was a kid that he got a letter from his parents, and Nick said he was adopted. He was adopted into a family, but his brother, I think, still lived with his biological, or somebody like an aunt or somebody at this point. So I don't know what exactly the story was. I talked to him about it once, but he lived with an adopted family, and his he got word, because it was one of the times we actually got our phones to go do something. I think we were signing up for like Christmas block leave or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he got a message that his brother had passed away, and he came up to me because, like I said, at this point I didn't need it because I was a '09 Sierra, so I was immediately being shipped back home after basic training, so I didn't need to have any block leave, so I was going right home after that. And I'm sitting at the back of the room while all these people are waiting in line to go through and get all their paperwork and leave orders. And he just comes up, and I'm like, and I see that he's clearly distressed. And I'm like, "What's up, buddy?" And he's like, "I just found out that my brother died." And I was like, "Oh!" And I go, "Hang on, I'll find." And so I was just like, "You said you need to talk to somebody." I said, "I'll get you a drill." So I go find him a drill, and immediately, as soon as I tell the drill sergeant what's going on, he's like, "Oh yeah, you can go outside and talk to whoever you need to talk to and call." And at that point, he was like, and he's like, "Oh wait, one of you guys needs to go with him because battle buddy." Because there's literally, it caught him off guard. You could tell it caught this drill sergeant off guard. So then I go out there. The drill sergeant follows me out there, and said, "You can just see that this kid's just trying to hold it together." And like I said, at this point, I said, "Dude, it's okay." And I just hugged him, and he just lost it. Like, as soon as I made contact with him, he just lost it, and this dude just bawled his eyes out. And I said, which I completely understand. I was just like, man, he just needed a friend at that moment. So like, I could just read his body language, and I don't know what it was. Just like something told me that this dude needed someone to hug him, and I was just like, so I just did that, and he lost it. He was calling his family, trying to figure out what was going on, and at this point, they found out, because we're basic training, you don't get your phone. Maybe if you get lucky, you get your phone like once every Sunday if you're lucky, which we didn't get that lucky. I don't know how you did.
Yeah, we got lucky.
But his brother apparently already had the funeral and everything, so there was nothing that they could have done at this point. And it was a weird situation too, since he was adopted. He didn't live with his brother, so it's not like he could immediately be shipped back home, because like I said, you're allowed, if there's a death in your family, you're allowed to leave. It has to be an immediate family member. And like I said, he wasn't even sure how that would work, since he doesn't live with his brother, even though he is an immediate family member.
And they already had the funeral.
Exactly. That's what they said. They go, and that's what his parents told him, his adopted parents told him, because we didn't want to really tell you to affect your training, because he was already buried even by the time we had found out. So I was just like, man.
And that's a really important thing to kind of think about. Like when you go to basic training, or just as a soldier in general, you never know what role you're going to need to fill at any given moment. And, for you to just know that, it's like this kid needed somebody to talk to and a shoulder to cry on. And that's what you got to be. Like, I mean, that's what being a battle buddy is all about. It's about knowing being able to track your fellow soldiers' emotions and their mental state. And obviously you can't be there and facilitate all of their needs, but like I said, just to know when to reach out and be like, hey man, it's okay to let it out, man, because life is not always easy or fair. Mm-hmm. And that was good of you that you were able to be that shoulder for him to cry in that moment.
Yeah,
so,
I don't know what came over me. I just assume it was, God, faith or whatever. It's like someone told me that he needed a friend and someone to actually, physical contact, hug him, do something to help him feel better. I don't know what it was, but that's what I'm saying it was, because I don't know what came over, because I've never done something like that before. So
yeah, I mean, it's pretty it's a don't touch other candidates kind of thing unless you know your buddies and stuff, and that's rare. But so yeah, good job in that moment. So let's kind of move past the dark, and we'll go into more what's probably let me kind of preface this really quick. So Chad, it seems like the way we're talking, like we went to basic training at the same time. Like, why weren't you two battle buddies? We weren't there together. Yeah. So Chad was there and went from September to December, and I went from January to March. So Chad's there without me. So I know all these stories, but that's just because, we wrote letters, we corresponded, we talked, we've had funny basic training conversations like this, like we're talking about right now. So Chad became a legend at Bravo 439 for this next story that he's about to tell. So let's go into it, Chad. Why don't you tell the
Yeah,
folks why you're a legend?
our next big one was probably right before Red Phase, or just right as we were moving into it, or right before. But we had this one guy. I won't say his name because he clearly had something like mentally wrong with him. He had a couple of screws loose, or something, whatever you want to say. I don't even know how he got in the army, but we find out that he was. I find out later. This is much later that he was discharged from the Air Force for. They only said medical reasons. I'm assuming it was probably more along the lines of psychological medical reasons,
Yeah, no kidding.
and that's just an assumption on my part. But at I first heard about him at the when we first got off the bus, when we first meet in our drills. You know, you're getting the shark attack kind of situation or whatever. But he accused one of the drill sergeants of trying to touch his,
Dangly bits?
his dangly bits, or his, genital area. And I can assure you, the drill sergeant was not trying to do that. But he somehow got in his head that was, and they had to send him off to medical for a while. And they sent him off with another Air Force guy that I knew, and they somehow both got assigned to my bay and my platoon. So I was like, "Yay, Joel!" So, and if you know anything about being in a barracks or a bay, you have to have two people on fire guard, which one person watches the door, and one person usually is cleaning the bay, mopping, sweeping, cleaning toilets, something like that, while the other one's guarding the door. And you usually switch turns at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have that, you have that. And then if you have anybody that's on suicide watch or psych watch or whatever they're calling it now, you have to have an additional two up for each person. So our bay always seemed to get like what I'd call the rejects, or the people trying to drop out of the army, or the people who claimed that they were feeling suicidal to be chaptered out of the army. So we always had like almost like 8, like we always usually had about anywhere from 4 to 8 guys always on guard duty or whatever. And he would just do weird things. There are signs that said he would just do weird things. He would just be sit up in his bed staring at people in the middle of the night. He would throw his sheets over his body and then lay flat as a board, like looking like he was a body in the morgue. Kind of terrifying the more I think about it, like retrospectively. But he would just do just odd things like that, and then he would just be like cleaning the bay like randomly, like in the kill zone. Which, if you know what the kill zone is, it's just a giant square that's a different color from the rest of the floor in your barracks or your bay. And you're not allowed to go in there. The drill sergeants will come in and tell you, do not go into the kill zone. Nobody is allowed in the kill zone. And they will smoke you if you go in the kill zone. But he would just be in the kill zone cleaning. We're like, dude, get out of the kill zone. All these kids like, dude, get out of the kill zone. And I'm just like, guys, don't worry about it. I don't think we're going to get smoked because the guy that's probably being chaptered out of the army is in the kill zone. So, I don't know. Finally, one day, he just started like, he put on his uniform and sneakers, like we were going out to do like combatives.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was odd, because we were all in our PTs, because they're still, the people who are getting out of the army have to still wear whatever we're wearing. So if we're in our fatigues or our uniforms or OCPs, whatever you want to call them, they have to be in them. And if we're in our PTs, they have to be in them. They basically still match what we do, just they don't have to do any of the physical stuff or any of the punishments or anything. And he was just loading his pockets of his uniform full of stuff. Just like, at this point, he's been living with it so long, he's like, that's weird, but, not weirder than anything else he's ever done. But just like, hindsight, looking back on it now, you kind of catch on to what he was doing. Just like, and we're all in our PTs, and we're like, come on, dude, it's time to go to chow. And he's like, oh, I'm supposed to be meeting with with one of the sergeants or the commander. And we're like, oh, okay. And then one of the drill sergeants comes in and sees what he's doing, and he looks at him. He's like, trainee, what the fudge are you doing? He's just like, I'm supposed to be meeting with the commander. Or one of the drill. He kept changing. This is the other thing. He kept changing who it was. He said, like, he's supposed to be meeting with them. He's like, And the drill sergeant like, well, they're not here right now. So get on your PTs and go to chow with everybody else. They'll be back later. And he just like, he kept arguing with him. And finally, he just literally looked at me and my buddy O'Neill. He convinced him. He was like, fine, don't have to get your PTs, but go to chow. They're leaving for chow right now. You need to eat. So he tells him, he looked at me and O'Neill's like, watch him. Wherever he goes, you go. And it was like, yes, drill sergeant. I was like, it was like, crap. So we go over to chow. He tries to like sneak away at chow. Like I said, not leave. Like I said, we're just like looking at him and go, dude, come on. And he goes to chow. We all go to chow and eat. And we're making our way back. And we go back.
Hold on, could I ask you a question? How did he try to sneak away before he went to chow? Like, what was he doing? Like, just like shimmying off onto the road or something?
He was in line in front of us, and all of a sudden he just walked out. And like I said, we kind of just watched him at first. And like I said, finally we just both looked, and as soon as we started walking after him, he came back in. So it was very weird. So I don't know if somebody turned him around or what. It was just very odd because you know the chow line. You're not allowed, and once you get out of place in chow line, you're done. You don't get to eat chow anymore. So we came back in, we ate, we're going back over, no issues, and then we're going up to the barracks, and your platoon, you know, you weren't there, but I said, but first platoon, somebody smuggled in like a entire jug or tub of peanut butter, which where they got it, and I assume they had to get it mailed because, you know, we only have those little peanut butter packets at the chow hall.
Yeah.
So I don't know where this dude got this, but he had an entire tub of peanut butter, and of course, your drill sergeants find it and freak out, and so first platoon gets the entire company evicted. Which eviction, for anyone who doesn't know, is you literally just carry all your crap, all your stuff. I mean, every belonging,
everything that's in your locker, you take it out.
So
put it in your duffel, you carry it out.
At this point, we have our IOTVs, which is our body armor.
Mm-hmm.
And so you literally, so everybody's coming out, they're wearing their body armor, they've got their rucksack on their back, they got their assault pack on their front, and they've got their two duffels, and everyone's, you know, penguin walking out because they're, this is so hard. Yeah. And for some people, they actually had to bring their beds and cots out for some people, like I said, which we didn't always have to do that, but it was a weird thing. Some people had to do it. I don't know why. I guess it was people who were really in trouble.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, that was mainly something that happened at Alpha Company, because that's what they always talked about all the time. We had to take our beds outside. And just like I said, well, good for you, losers.
Yeah, sucks to suck, Alpha Company.
Yeah, but as we're all getting evicted, so everyone's and at this time this just happened. So we're all getting our stuff out, and the kid just starts like having like panic attack, and he's running around the bay, and I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. So I just yell at O'Neill like, O'Neill, you watch the back door, I'm going to watch the front door of the bay. And so just make sure he doesn't leave. And so I'm watching the front one, and eventually he's just running around the kill zone like crazy. You know, everybody's, and like I said, nobody's paying attention because everybody's pissed because we're all unloading all of our stuff except for me and O'Neill. And he finally goes up to O'Neill, and O'Neill, like, I think he kind of manages to like calm him down. And he's like, hey, I just need to talk to the commander. Like, I mean, freaking out. And we're just like, and both are just like, dude, the commander's still not here. We don't know where he's at, but there's a drill sergeant out on the CTA right now. Why don't we go out to the CTA and go talk to that drill sergeant? He'll talk to you. He's like, yeah, that'll work. We think we've calmed him down. So O'Neill and him start heading for the door, and I kind of get caught up behind because I can't go in the kill zone. I get kind of caught behind somebody who's coming out with all their stuff. And I'm like, O'Neill, just stay with him. I'm right behind you. And I'm trying to catch up the entire time. And I finally catch up to him. And I don't know if anything was said. I never really asked. But as soon as they get outside and I'm right behind him, I enter the door, he just starts to freak out, spaz out, and takes off running. And O'Neill grabs him once, and he manages to shake him off. This kid was wiry. He was wiry and fast. Said, but I guess the crazy one's probably always
yeah.
Said, but tries to grab him. He grabs him twice, and he still manages to break his grip or whatever, and he takes off running over the hill, over to that road, you know, by the Drill Sergeant Academy. Yep. And he starts taking off down the road, down towards the Drill Sergeant Academy, and just down that street.
Question: do you have rifles at this time?
Yeah, we have our M4s, and we're chasing. Here we are at a complete disadvantage. We're running after him with our M4s and all this. going as fast as we can, and we just take off running after him, and we almost catch him like a couple times. But he is lightning fast. I mean, lightning fast. And O'Neill's not slow, and I'm not slow by anything. I'm not the fastest dude in the world, but we could not catch this kid, and he was just lightning quick. And eventually, I said, we get probably, I don't know, like quarter mile, half a mile down the road. I'm just like, it's like, how far? And he just, O'Neill looks, how far do we keep going after him? Just like, I go, you're right. I go, you stay here and keep eyes on him. Just kind of keep pace with him. I'm going to go grab drill sergeants and I'll be back. So I take off running back to the CTA.
Now, hold on. Did anybody see you guys take
No,
off?
this happened as we are at the side of the building, on our side. They said, you were first platoon. I said, we're on the opposite side
where you
by the
go
road.
Up the hill by the road. So,
exactly.
But nobody who was like carrying their
Nobody
bags
was out there. Nobody was out there at this time. Everyone was. This is literally everyone is still gathering up all their equipment and outside. So it's just me and him out there, and we're chasing after him. So finally, I just turn around. And I go, I'm gonna go back and get a drill sergeant. You just keep eyes on him. I go, you don't have to run with him anymore. Just keep eyes on him. And I take off running back to the CTA as fast as I can. And
about how far did you have to run?
I said probably about somewhere between a half mile and a quarter of a mile. That's all I can say, because we didn't know how far, because we had passed the drill sergeant academy. At this point, we're like, how far do we keep going? So we take off. I take off back, and first platoon's out there getting a big old lecture from Drill Sergeant Montez. And I come running up, and if anybody knows, you're not supposed to say the drill sergeant's last names. You just call them drill sergeant. But I am so tired, and I come sprinting over that hill, sprinting onto the CTA, and so you just see a bunch of people just, all the first platoon guys just staring at me like a crazy man. I'm just like trying to get my breath, like, Drill Sergeant Montez, Drill Sergeant Montez. And you see him, and I see him. He's out there, arms crossed. And he's like, also, turns, looks. He's like, what? Like I said, and it was just so matter of factly. It's just like, it was like, Drill Sergeant, trainee. I said, trainee so and so took off. He's bolting. He's running away. And all of a sudden, I said his name, and he just goes, I won't say his name, but he just looks at me. And he's the most like straight face you could ever be. Like, who the is trainee? Name blank, name redacted. He just said it. So matter of fact, if I hadn't been so tired or out of breath, I probably would have laughed. But I said, he's one of the non-trainees. He's one of the ones getting, he's one of the non-trainees. And he goes, ah! So that told him everything he needed to know. And he immediately goes running inside to go get the keys and other drills. So I'm just kind of sitting there waiting, because I'm trying to see if they want me to go with them or what. And so they're going inside to get the truck keys to the vehicles. And like I said, I'm waiting there. And then all of a sudden, two drill sergeants come running out the side door. And they go looking around, looking at me, and they go, where did he go? And I just go, well, I guess I'm going. So I took off running. I go, he ran towards the drill sergeant academy. So I go sprint to catch up with these drill sergeants, who are at least like, maybe about 40, 50 yards in front of me. So I'm sprinting to catch up with them. And I yell, my battle buddy's got eyes on. Sure enough, we catch up to O'Neill. And they're like, where is he? And they go, he ran that way, because O'Neill had finally lost him at this point. Mm-hmm. And so we go running down there, and then all of a sudden, after we get, I don't remember how far we probably ran another like half mile, maybe further. And out comes the drill sergeants in the trucks. There's two trucks coming down the road, and they're like, tell those trainees to go back. So then one of the drill sergeants turned around and goes, yeah, you two can head back to the CTA. And we're like, done. So it's like, we go back, and we just walk back, because at this point, we're both pretty exhausted at this point. And, and it didn't help. I think we got smoked after chow too, so we were pretty tired. So we come back, and we just kind of, everybody's getting evicted still, so everyone's still slowly making their way out. And Drill Sergeant Viejas is sitting on the drill sergeant stand now. She's in charge of the formation, and we just kind of just sit up there by the drill sergeant stand, just kind of stand there. She just kind of looks at us, doesn't really say anything, because I'm pretty sure she's clued into what's going on. And I'm just like, so do we go get evicted, or do you think we should just stay here? And he's like, let's just stay here. So I'm just like, I'll go ask the drill sergeant real quick. And he's like, no, don't say anything. I'm just going to ask her. Drill sergeant, and I had a plan. I'm just like, drill sergeant, do you want us to go pull out all of our stuff and get evicted, or would you rather us stay here in case we need to give statements or anything to the MPs or anything? She's like, that's a good idea. You stay right there. And I was like, boom. So here we are. Our entire company's getting evicted except for me And we're just ecstatic about that. So that was the good thing that happened about that. That was the only good thing that happened
Yeah.
about that. But they ended up finding him, and he went to the MP station for a while, but he eventually came back to our company for a while until I think eventually they chaptered him out. But there was another slightly funny story that happened with that. Like I said, when they finally thought that we had lost him for good, one of one of the dudes in our bank comes in and yells, "So and so is gone!" And I looked at him, I go, "Bro, he's right there." And he's like, and then Larry looked at me, he goes, "Oh," because dude, everybody was so sick of being on suicide watch at this point towards the end that everybody was just done. So yeah, that was one of the funny things. So and so is gone. I mean, at the top of his lungs. And I go, bro, he's right there. And just see him. He turns and looks at him, and he just literally does this little like cartoonish little like that. And I was like, oh my god, this is something you would see in a movie. Oh my god, it was ridiculous. But yeah, that's how I got unintentionally like infamous or famous on Fort Jackson. Which I said, he's the kid that ran away is more famous than me. Everyone knows him. I'm just the guy that chased him down.
Yeah. That's good stuff. Okay. So I know you got a couple more real short, quick ones that you can tell real quick, and then we'll
Yeah.
move on post basic training.
Yeah, the only really a couple other ones that I had was at Omaha, which Omaha is our battle buddy shoot and move operation. So, it's just basic cover. One person's covering while one person's moving, or shooting while someone's moving. And everybody is, terrified of this, and nobody wants to go with certain people. And we had this one trainee in our company that everybody was terrified to go with because he has had accidental discharges or he doesn't know where he's shooting.
Multiple accidents? Is it like multiple accidental discharges?
Oh yeah.
Oh
Like I
my
said,
gosh.
it's like just not paying attention to where he's shooting. Like I said, he flagged the XO, which that was a fun one, and then
Lieutenant
another
Stein
one.
or Captain Stein
Yeah,
now.
he did. So that one wasn't good, and then another one he shot into a sandbag that was right in front of him. So God knows what happened with that. I didn't see this. I only heard about this. So all this is speculation, but it sounds to me, with the way I know this kid, it probably is the case. But we're at Omaha, and everybody is terrified of going with this kid. So I'm just eventually I just go, I bite the bullet, and I go, fine, I will go with this trainee. So I'm going with him. Everyone else is like, good luck. We salute you for your time of
Those who are
service.
about to die, we salute you.
That's pretty much how everybody was treating me because nobody trusts this kid with a rifle. But I'm going with him, and when he gets to the point where it started to rain, like I said, I don't know how you got so lucky, but we got rained on all the time out there, especially during the Omaha drills, and it's my turn to go with him. And we're coming up on it, and like I said, our line is so much longer than everybody else's. They go, okay, people, the last like 5 or 6 people in line, go to this line over here. It's apparently moving faster, so we get dismissed and go over there, and we're at second platoon's lane now. And as we get there, everyone's like, I don't know why I was semi-popular in the company. I don't know why. I guess it was probably the runaway trainee incident, but everybody's I come over there, and all these dudes all of a sudden go, Watson, what are you doing over here, man? I'm just like, I just ordered over here. I just do what I'm told. So I'm over here, and they're like, oh, that's awesome. And all of a sudden they realize, because I'm third platoon, they go, wait. And all of a sudden they realize, that one kid's here. And they all start freaking out. They go, someone's going to die. And I was like, I go, calm down. I go, your guys' drill sergeant is here, right? And he was like, and because I didn't see him at this point, he was doing one of the lanes with another group of trainees. He was like, yeah. And I go, I will inform him that this particular trainee is on his lane, and I guarantee you he'll want to watch him. And he go, yeah, that's a good idea. So I do that. So sure enough, and like I said, it's the funniest story I have, but it's a drill sergeant Musgrove, and like I said, this dude been in the Army for a long time.
He is a combat vet.
Yeah.
Kills under his belt. Yeah. He is he's not to be trifled with.
Yeah, he always walked with like his neck forward. Like I said, like he is always in a shooting position. Like I said, it's like his neck is locked in that position. So he's walking back. It's raining. He's got his vest on, glasses, rolls up, and it's like, excuse me, Drill Sergeant. Looks at me, turns. And just head literally. What? I said, I would just like to inform you that so and so trainee is here on your guys' lane, but he is not in your line. Just like, I'm tracking. That's all he said. I'm tracking. And he goes, just walked away. And sure enough, when it's finally about our turn to go, he said, I get paired up with somebody else because there's an odd number of people in second platoon. So I'm in the lane that I need to be with this other guy. And I even tell the kid, he's like, I have no one to go with me now. I have no one to go with me now. And it's like, don't worry. They told me to go get that. If nobody else shows up, I'll go get another thing of ammo and come back and do it with you. He's like, so he calms down. He starts freaking out. Just like, I'll go again with you if I have to. Somebody else showed up, thank God. But but I go and I get done and I'm making my way back, and sure enough, he's in his line, but he's not in his line. He's in one of the temporary drill sergeant's line, or one of the, the cycle through drill sergeant. I don't know what they're called. But there's this little girl in his lane that's going with him, and he literally yells at the top of his lungs, "Get out of my lane, you're fired!" And he calls the kid's name, "Trainee so-and-so, come here. Trainee so-and-so, come right effing here." And he's standing right in front of him. He goes, "You will be in my line for this demonstration." And this kid, as soon as, the drill starts, not more than like 10 seconds into it, he's immediately thrown him because he was so bad at,
Live fire.
at live fire and being able to safety his weapon and all that. He probably got thrown like at least like 5 times to the ground the entire time he was there. And I was just sitting back, I was like, I shouldn't be laughing at this, but this is really funny. But it was great. That was one of the funnier ones I had. Then the other one was we were coming back from our we were coming back, well, not coming back, we were about to do our march and shoot on the forge, or the final, day. And we're marching to the area we're about to be staged for the final, immediately, like, super fast hike to your shoot, to the shoot area, or to the range, whatever you want to call it. And as we're hiking there, I said, my drill sergeant said to say primary drill sergeant. He wasn't our lead drill sergeant, but he was my primary because our lead drill sergeant was always gone at training or doing something. So he was our primary drill Sergeant Ramirez, and he had a boot on, so he had to drive the truck everywhere because he had, like, fractured his foot at some point. And he's just driving along, and he catches up to our platoon, which is 3rd platoon. And he's like, "Come on, 3rd, you guys can do it." And we're just hiking along. Everyone's miserable, tired, wants to go home. And he's just sitting there, like, just watching, making sure nobody's falling out. Because that's, the person driving the truck's job, is make sure nobody's falling out. And he's just sitting there watching. So finally, just like, I'm going to try it. So I see him, and I just stick my thumb out, hitchhiker's thumb, and just like that. And he's just, he's super lasered in. He's watching, and all of a sudden he just kind of passes me, and he comes back, and he goes, like that, head back, and all of a sudden he goes, "Dad," and then all of a sudden he goes, starts flipping me out because he realized what was going on. I started laughing. Oh man, that made that march a little bit better. But he was always doing funny stuff like that, like, because you come back out of the chow hall too. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to line up. Everyone's supposed to get in formation and be quiet in your particular platoons. And all of a sudden, like, all the kids, like, I'm trying to tell everybody, guys, you need to lock it up. Drill sergeants are going to be watching us soon enough. And sure enough, everyone's out there smoking and joking. And then who do we see? Drill Sergeant Ramirez just watching us all through the window, and they're like, "Oh, there's Drill Sergeant watching us." Everybody immediately gets up, goes to attention, all that stuff, and all of a sudden he just, boom, does it again right there, and everyone starts laughing because he was the fun drill sergeant. That was for sure. He was the funny one.
He was. Whenever I was there, Ram was there, and he because somehow we got sent to the same company, which is like a 1 in a million
chance
thing, mm-hmm. and whenever I was there. he came walking out of the DPAC one time. We were all out there kind of talking, smoking, and joking. And as he just walks by, everybody, shuts up when he and the other drill sergeant come out the door. And he just walks by and goes, he doesn't even look at it. He just walks by and he goes, "Half right face." So we all half right face, and everyone's like, "Oh." And then literally he keeps walking. He starts walking to the stairs that go down to the PT field, and then he goes half left face, and he just walks away.
That sounds like
It
him.
was
Yep, that's
hilarious, man.
funny.
Like, and he did all that kind of stuff. And then I'd say hi to him all the time. Like, I loved him, and I would
Yeah.
just talk to him. I'd be like,
It's
"Hey, drill sergeant, good to see you, drill sergeant." And one time he goes, "I'm sick of looking at you," and he goes, "You know what?" He's like, so he looks at my whole platoon. He goes, "About face." He goes, "I don't want you looking at me anymore." So I got my entire company. The platoon had to face the opposite direction because
And
they
then
didn't want to look at
didn't
me
your drill
anymore.
sergeant come out? What y'all do?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, Drill Sergeant Johnson came and goes, "What is going on? Why are you guys facing the opposite direction?" He goes, and I was like, "Watson talked to another drill sergeant, and he about faced us." And he, of course, Johnson just started laughing.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's funny. Oh man, but yeah, that was Drill Sergeant Ramirez. He was funny. And then the only other like couple of stories that I really have was Family Day. I said we just ended up, which you know this. Like I said on Family Day, we adopted like 3 or 4 other like trainees. They're like, I really want to not stay at the base, which like, eventually they dismiss you to go walk around on your own. But not everybody knew that at this time. But we ended up adopting like 4 or 5 people
yeah,
to come with us and my family to go on like Family Day. It was funny.
yeah, you got one more story with Staff Sergeant
That's
Fowler,
right.
and then we'll move on to pre OCS.
Yeah, to preface this, like I said I was the sharp, which is sexual harassment, representative basically, and I took the job seriously. I did take the job seriously. I had a few times I had to write down incidents and stuff like that, So I did take the job seriously, but I was just like, I am the wrong guy for this job because I'm always cracking, jokes. Sometimes more dirty, but I always make sure, that I'm around
Innuendos.
exact innuendos. I'm always make sure I'm around a group of people that I know don't have an issue with it and stuff like that. I was just like, I can't believe I got this job out of everybody that could have got this job. It was me. But I go in and like I said, this is literally the end of the cycle. We're probably like maybe 4 or 5 days away from graduation at this point, and I'm coming back from a detail, and one of my buddies who's a former Air Force guy, Staff Sergeant Fowler at the time. So yeah, he was prior service Air Force, and he's just coming in, and like the older guys is like what Ivy and Edgar and everyone says like. Mm-hmm. When you're an older guy, everyone comes and asks you questions about things, about life, about the Army, the military, whatever they can. And I'm coming back from a detail, and he is just surrounded by about like 5 to 8 guys, I would say. I really don't remember. But they're right at the door into the bay, and I just start smiling. And I'm just like, something just came to mind because he's just talking with all these kids. And I just walked up, as I'm walking in, I go, well, well, well. And they all look at me because, they're thinking probably I'm a drill sergeant or something. I go, if it isn't Staff Sergeant Fowler playing with his privates. And he started laughing. He goes, how are you our sharp rep? How are you our sharp representative? And I just started laughing. But that was one of the funnier ones that I had there. Because it made me laugh the hardest. Because it always made him super mad whenever I said something like that to him that was just like borderline funny, but partially inappropriate.
Yeah, yeah. So moving on to, I guess your post basic training experience. So you come back home in December after graduation, and what's the pre OCS environment like? How was that for you?
Uh, Pre OCS was it was
Uneventful.
it was fine. Like I said, I really liked pre OCS. I didn't have to go because I came back in December, and by the time I came back, it took me a while to get back in. And like I said, the holiday block was right there for everybody, so like everybody was not wanting to meet with me. So like I said, so I didn't go to my first pre OCS thing until January, which is I think you were already gone by the time I went to my first pre OCS shindig, and it was fun. They said it was intimidating when your first day because you don't know where to go or what to do. But there's people there. There's candidates that are there that have been there at least a few times. Some of them who are candidates who have been to other OCS environments. So they kind of take care of you and kind of show you the ropes. But yeah, it's a much more chill environment at pre-OCS because they're trying to teach you lessons to learn to get you successful for phase 1, which mainly seemed to be
Land nav.
Land navigation. Like I said, land navigation was like our bread and butter. I mean, every day I went there, I went to, which I only went for, till however long we did until we went to phase 1. So maybe about like 3-4 months.
Yeah, it was
5.
in June, right?
Yeah. And get there, and it's just every time I was there, I swear to God, we did land navigation. Land navigation, land navigation, land navigation. We were supposed to go out to the field a few times, but they always ended up getting canceled. And it's probably for the best because, like I said, at this time, I didn't have a sleep system or nothing. And they was like, do you have, like, your stuff to go out in the field? I was like, not really. I returned all my stuff to basic training. They didn't let me keep it. And I hadn't been to a unit yet because you're supposed to get all that stuff from your unit.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like, I don't have anything. So it's probably for the best we never went out into the field.
Yeah,
because
no
I'd just
kidding.
be wrapped up in a blanket and sleeping on the ground. But yeah, it was fun. I don't really have any memorable stories from there. It's just like it was land nav and MREs is how I summed up pre-OCS. Land nav and MRE.
That sounds about right. Okay, so pushing past the pre-OCS environment, how was phase 1 for you?
Phase 1. Now, we've already talked about this, but phase 1 is how I thought like basic training was supposed to be. Phase 1 it wasn't horrible, but it was a nightmare. It's a nightmare at the time, but you look back on it, you're like, it wasn't that bad. And truthfully, it really wasn't that bad when you're there. You're just tired all the time. Like I said, I thought I was tired at basic. Like I said, I was tired all the time at OCS. You don't get hardly any sleep, and the amount of sleep that you do, definitely not enough. But you get run to chow every day, full gear. Said you get smoke sessions regularly, or what they call, very, very tactfully called tack breaks. Mm-hmm. And man, you said it's literally uniform. Like I said, you get up, PT, which PT is probably the easiest part of your day. If the tacks don't get mad at you for thinking it was too easy.
Yeah.
PT is actually relatively enjoyable because you're in control of it. They let you take control of everything. Like I said, you're in charge of running, whoever leadership is.
Yeah, whoever your running. PL and the PSG is. Yeah.
And like I said, but that's about the extent of being in charge as as a person, as an officer in OCS, besides like, bringing in the troops and stuff. Like I said, I'm here reporting with the troops and all that, because everything else, it's like, now we're marching to chow, or we're running to chow, which like you said was a sprint, which thank goodness I was in second, because if it depended on who the leader was. Because like I said, our second platoon PL oftentimes had a hard time keeping up with first, so we didn't really ever run that fast. But I was the PL that got put in charge. Like I said, we kept up with first platoon. I turned around and I'm missing at least probably like a quarter of my platoon, but we're up with first platoon.
Yep.
And it was, you had everything was like regimented. I mean, it was literally segmented out. So it was PT in the morning. Then you'd go back inside, get dressed into your uniform. You're going marching, or you're running to chow. And then once you go to chow,
class,
you march to class, and then you're in class, and then tack break on every hour. You would literally go outside, and the tacks would or smoking us or teach either smoke you or teach you something, which is usually a combination between the two. Mm-hmm. And you'd go back into class, and you're exhausted, and you could tell if somebody was a what are they called? What are the college ones called? ROTC.
Yeah, the ROTC.
You could tell if they're ROTC because, like I said, if it was an ROTC officer, they're like, what is happening right now? Because they don't do stuff like this at the
Yeah, I remember. So basic training, you and I both lost about 30, 40 pounds over 2 months.
That's right.
We lost, 15 pounds?
We lost like 15 pounds in
phase,
2 weeks.
2 weeks at phase 1.
2 weeks. Yeah.
So
it's a lot of running and, like I said, getting smoked.
And walking at land nav.
Yeah. And after that, so you do that. Once you get our first week there was literally like that class stuff. It was literally like wake up, PT, get dressed, run to chow, march to class, go to chow again, march back to class, march, and then run back to chow again, and then march back. And we usually had some type of like punishment thing that you'd have to do before they would dismiss you for the evening. There's some type of weird, fun little workout that they would have you do before they would dismiss you for the evening to go to bed. We had church a couple of times, didn't we?
Yeah, a couple of times, but I never went. I just sat outside.
I did. I went all the times I could go because it was just a way to get out of the barracks for a little bit. Mm-hmm. But then, like I said, our second week, besides doing our, of course, our what's it called, the 6 mile.
Mm-hmm.
We did our 6 mile, but after that first week, your second week is all out in the field. We literally go stay in the field all week. So you're basically just going to be in your sleeping bag, unless of course it rained. Then they would take us to this little staging area where we had these little like semi decent sized barracks,
Mm-hmm.
which was nice. I said being in there, any place that had you had cover and air conditioning is better than anything. But we had that because if it was raining and we had threats of tornado at one point, so we all got to stay near there. So if it was raining or we had threats of tornado, we would stay in these barracks. But like I said, we other than that, we would be out and the field sleeping in our sleeping bags, and it was just literally, as you said, land nav. We just did land nav nonstop for at least like what did you say, 3 days?
That was like 4 days a week.
Well, I thought it was 3 days of practice, and then the fourth and fifth day we did the actual
test.
like tests.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, after you passed your land nav, which like I said, land nav is those places are not as easy as you think because if you have to make sure your pace count. Because that was my problem. Is like I said, as I hit everybody, I hit a muddy trail and slipped and fell and lost my pace count because I was like, I just forgot my pace count. Once you hit the ground and you're picking all your stuff, like I don't remember what my pace count was. So you have to make sure your pace count is right. That's the only thing I always say is make sure you're keeping track of your pace count because that was the only thing because everything else on mine was good. I had my azimuths down. I had my number points and everything down.
My issue was I didn't trust my compass. Like I would use my compass. I'd be like, this thing's got to be off. Like because I'd be walking a straight line. And I'd be like, but like I said, that's why you got to trust your equipment too. Because I'd be like, this can't be right. Like I'm walking in the right direction.
No one realizes this, but yeah, one of your you do have a dominant leg, so you are gonna slightly come off eventually. That's why you should trust your compass to keep your azimuth. But yeah, it's keeping your pace count and watching and trusting your compass as long as your compass is good is important. So doing that, but I said, yeah, keep your pace count. That was my thing that killed me on my first test, but it was good. Like I said, I took it again, got all my points, no issue. So
are you saying you failed your first land?
I failed the first one just because, like I said, I lost my pace count.
Wow.
So this thing it was the only thing that got me. But did that, came back, and like I said, once you pass your land nav, like I said, you're good. You're good as gold. And then getting into phase 2 is just where you, for traditional anyway, it is that's where you're gonna start. They tell you to basically you need to like learn stuff on your own. Like this is the phase where I said you need to learn how to be an officer on your own. Like I said, they will help you and they will mentor you there, but you need to find out, if you've got the grit, because especially the traditional route, you have to make sure you're staying in shape outside of drill, because your once a weekend, going to doing the stuff is not going to be enough to pass you on your runs and your rucks. You got to do it all on your own.
It's a self-taught course, self-corrected course, self-motivating course.
That's partially why I think most people probably prefer doing like the federal OCS or the expedited is because you're forced to do it. There is no, oh, it's on me. They're going to make you do it at these, other courses because every day your day is perfectly regimented out, whereas traditional, it's like, it's on you. If you don't work out or study or do whatever you need to do on your own time, you're going to fail. You're going to come back here and you're not going to be prepped.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I would say I probably like more about the traditional. I've definitely learned a lot more that I said, granted, I don't have anything else to go off, but I've learned a lot more from traditional than it sounds like you would learn from the expedited or, maybe even federal.
Yeah.
So
kind of wrapping up here, what kind of advice would you give to incoming officer candidates or just general Army advice in general or, pseudo dad advice?
Pseudo dad advice. I said, it's all on you. Said if you want it bad enough, you can get it. It's all anything that you don't do in the military besides like maybe like one of the like higher ends like special forces or ranger school, because like I said, you can easily hurt yourself or something that would make you to where it's not exactly your fault. But if you study the stuff, work out, and do what you need to do, that's the thing is people know what they need to do. They just don't implement it or don't do it. You know what you need to do to pass. Just do it. It's the do part that's hard. Everyone thinks that you can do these things, but doing it is different than just like planning on it. So it's what was Mike Tyson say? He's like everybody's got a plan until they got hit in the mouth.
Yeah,
so,
everybody's got a plan until someone punches them in the mouth. That's
exactly.
True.
So it just get out there and do it. Once you, everything's the hardest part about the day. The hardest part about your day is getting up in the morning. Once you've got up and done your first run to the gym or whatever you're doing, the rest of the day gets easier after that. Everything else you do after that's easy. That's the only advice that I really have.
I think that's some pretty good advice. I really can't add on to it other than just be self-motivated, and you can do anything you put your mind to, period.
Amen.
So with that being said, I think we'll wrap this thing up. Good job on the stories, man. That was some good stuff. So this is the Twins with Owasso Live, and this was the Grand Old Cast, or the Grand Old Time Cast, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
So we appreciate you guys watching. Hope you have a wonderful day. God bless y'all.